of the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp. I'm your host, and we have with us today special guest Adam Thomas Hurd from Atomic Coaching is our guest today. And Adam, why don't you go introduce yourself to our listening audience?
Yeah, well, hey, pal. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I know, you and I had the luxury of meeting in person, which is quite an experience. So anyone who gets to meet you in person, try to meet Joe. He's really impressive man, doing great things, great story. So thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it, pal.
Thank you. So I met Adam somewhat recently, and we do a lot of the same stuff. We work with business owners to help them to grow their businesses, overcoming challenges. I just loved Adam's thinking, his philosophies, his strategies, his mindset. I follow him on social media, and I'm encouraged literally every single day when I watch your stuff. So definitely try to find Adam on, I'm sure you're on every platform, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, I don't know, whatever else you're on. Follow his stuff. Um, we're in for a great show today. I haven't seen it yet. We haven't done it yet. We're just starting off. So hopefully everybody will enjoy it. I'm sure it'll be brilliant and wonderful. So looking forward to it. Why don't you give us some information about what kind of stuff does Atomic Coaching do right now?
Yeah, I mean, what we have, my partner Tom and I, what we realized, we didn't create this business; it created itself, and we've really been put here to help entrepreneurs who are stuck, right? And it's these people who have got to a position where they're self-employed, they built a business, but they really don't own anything. The job owns them. They've built the job. That's really what they've done, and they've had success. Maybe they're making $500,000, $1 million, but their entire day, their entire life, all their relationships, all their efforts are all controlled by the business that they have. And while on the surface it looks amazing, like everybody outside is like, I wish I had what you have. Inside, they're just spinning their wheels and they're frustrated. There's something missing. There's a piece of their potential that they know that is just out of grasp. And what we realize we've been put here to do is help steward people through that. Myself, I spent 25 plus years in finance. I owned a financial planning firm and insurance agency, a benefits company. I've served on multiple corporate boards. And I've done a lot of other interesting work that some people think is impressive. I just thought is what I did. Through that work, I ended up advising many CEOs of companies. And it was kind of like on-the-job training. And my partner, Tom, he is a physician assistant. And he ended up matriculating or that's the wrong word, evolving into the C-suite of health insurance companies or health companies. And through that process, he really saw the inner workings and operations of what happens at that level. So he came at it from a practical standpoint of medicine, and then he understood actually what's happening behind the scenes to run the operation. He also taught psychology at SUNY Downstate. That's the State University of New York. He taught at SUNY Downstate in Brooklyn for 10 years. He taught psychology. So he understood how to recognize mental health issues. And then he became a life coach. And through, he retired, I retired, and we came together to try to help some of these people with both sides of that equation. What's happening on the tactical side, what's happening on the philosophical and mental side, and we melded it together to really people. So that's what we are all about.
That's awesome. So you're bringing together real world business experience, but also, we're driving these vehicles called our brains. And it's interesting to understand how our brains sometimes function for us, but very frequently function against us. And so, being aware of the whole psychology end of it, I think adds a special element, because I can tell you what you need to do. Like, it's pretty much textbook what you need to do, textbook how to do it. But then we end up with like limiting beliefs and mindset things and issues that kind of block people from moving forward. I think that's where, people get stuck, is in that mindset. I'm not aware of my limiting beliefs, or I'm not aware that I believe something that's actually counterproductive. And so being able to handle it from the psychological end, I think is critical for businesses to really understand. There's a whole, I call it emotional fitness. Others will call it emotional intelligence. I call it fitness because I feel like if everybody exercises good emotional strategies, you're going to become more emotionally fit.
But that's the key. It's an exercise. It's a practice. When you're in business, you never reach the finish line, right? When you're in life, you never reach the finish line. We're constantly evolving. We're practicing. We're learning. And if you take that moment in time to really look at who you are, what you do, how you're operating, where you're trying to go, that can allow you to start changing course. And we always say it's the difference between I have to and I choose to.
Hmm.
And if you really get to the point where I choose to, and then you do the hard work behind what changes you want to make in your life and your mental state and your relationships and your business, that really allows you to have freedom. And that is the thing. It's a practice, that mental exercise that we do, and physical.
Yeah. Instead of I have to, I choose to. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Whole
it's a
mindset
simple
shift.
mindset shift of anything that you're doing. If you can sit down in front of it and say, well, do I have to do this or I'm choosing to do this? And even when you have to do something, you can choose how you do it. And when you
Right.
start to lead your daily activities that way, you have this ease about you. So if you just look at that two little dichotomies there, if you can switch it to the other side, you'll feel more at peace.
Yeah. I see that, a lot of times we make excuses, right? People in general make excuses. I think that, the economy, the, political atmosphere, the business atmosphere, the, legal stuff and, employees. And if I feel like everything else is out of my control, I feel like I'm in a prison. Like each of these things is like a bar in the prison. But when I understand that, each of those things isn't someone else or something that's out of my control, each of those is really me, and I have influence on every single piece of that. One of the things I like to tell people is, let's lose the mindset of control and replace it with influence. I may not be able to control much of anything, but I can influence almost everything, right? So even take, elections, for example. I can't control who becomes the next whatever political figure, but I do get one vote, right? I get my vote of influence in that. And that goes for everything in our lives, whether it be marriage, business, customer relationships, employee relationships, business partner relationships, any of that stuff. I have an influence in all of that. So taking ownership of that. What can I influence and how much can I influence that?
Yeah, and some people don't really give themselves the ability to see how much influence they have. So I'll use the political one. You said I have one vote. That's what I can do. Well, I was vice chairman of a lobbyist group, one of the largest lobbyist groups in America for, excuse me, for the financial service professionals, and we wielded tremendous influence over who got elected, over what these laws were written, over what laws were canceled. I mean, we've won laws against multiple administrations, changing them. And what that is collectively, if you have other people that have the same vision as you and are going down that same direction, you actually can wield even more influence. Even though you're one person, you can influence others who can influence situations. And that's really what leadership is all about. It's about how much influence do you wield over the people who have really said, I will follow you. And if you're going to lead, you have to have influence. And that influence has to be collective. It can't just be yours. So
Right.
if that's what we talk about with masterminds that I do with a lot of people, is having a similar vision going down the field. This is what football teams do. They have the playbook. Everybody knows what they have to do and where they're going and what they're trying to accomplish. And that's really what leadership is about how well do you wield the influence that you have.
That's awesome. So let's break this down because it's important for people to really get step by step, right? So as a leader, you're a leader if people are following you, right? Basically, if nobody's following you, you can think you're leading, but ultimately you're you're not. Uh, in order for people to follow you, people are generally going to want to know where you're going, and they're going to want to have to. They have to want to go there also, right? So they're going to see your vision. You mentioned vision. So for you as a leader to have some kind of vision, hey, the world looks like this. This is a better picture of the world in the future as we accomplish our mission. And then other people are going to say, yes, I can see that same vision. I kind of want to go there myself. And then the piece that we need to make sure that we add into the puzzle is, in order for somebody to follow me into that vision, they need to trust me that I'm the best way to get them there, right? And so this goes for your clients, this goes for employees, anybody that you have influence over. They have to say, hey, you know what? If I follow Adam, Adam's going to get me there better than I can get myself there, or better than Joe can get me there, for example, right? So, and then they're going to follow you because you're the best choice at getting them to that destination.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a very strange power that you have, and you can lose it in an instant and you can gain it in an instant. What's really more important about it is consistently holding it and using it for the best of your ability. And what we use is something called the 5 Ws. Okay. And it's who, what, where, when, why. There's an H in there, how, but how is done collectively. The how
Hmm.
other people can do the how. There's a great book by Dan Sullivan, and it's really talking about like, whoop,
Something's glitching. Hopefully
yeah,
it works
okay,
out in the end.
yep. There's a great book by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy, Who Not How. It's who's
Hmm.
going to do these things, not how am I going to do them. So we always think the how is a collective thing. But the 5 Ws in leadership is really you understanding first, who am I and who do I want to become? And same with the business. Who is the business and who do I want the business to become? If you don't really know that gap, you can never get there.
That's
Okay.
true.
And yeah, and you have to establish it. Like, who is it that we actually want to become as an organization? Okay.
Right.
The next thing is what? Like, what is my mission and my vision? And I don't mean the company. I don't mean what's going to go on your website. That's not what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
I mean, like, what is it that I, as this leader, am in the charge of? What is my mission? Because we say this: your mission is something that you state, but then here's how you uphold it. Everything I do every single day is to achieve my mission. And
Right.
if you can't look at your mission statement and actively use it that way, everything I do every single day is to achieve this, then it's not your mission. It's just something you're interested in. And
Right.
that's the problem, Joe. Most people are just interested, they're not committed. And I could talk about that
Hmm.
more if you want. So once you understand what, okay, what's my mission, what's my vision, the next thing is where. And where most people get really messed up. Where are my values now? Because our values change as our perspective changes, as our circumstance change, as our desires change, our values change. And most people are using old values to execute future visions. And you
Hmm.
have to really look at like, what are my values today and assess them, and not just what are they, but why are they important to me? Because you're going to have to convey that to everybody else. If you're going to lead them, they have to believe in that too. They need to
Right.
have the same values too. And if they can't express that, then you're not leading anything. You're asking people to follow a vision and a mission that they're not going to adopt.
Right.
And then there's others in there too. There's when are you going to do things, but the most important is why. Why are we really doing this? What is the impact we're going to make collectively? Why are we
Hmm.
going through and charging forward to build this business, to lead this family, even if we are going to buy this house? Why?
Right.
It's all about why. But if you don't understand who you are and who you want to become, where your values are and what your mission and vision is, the why never gets executed. It sits on a shelf and collects dust.
Wow. That's powerful. I gotta have to watch this episode again myself and take notes from it. So this is great stuff. So tell us, a customer example, and obviously don't give us any kind of details on the customer that anyone can even think that they might know who it is. But give us an example of a client that had a challenge, they were stuck, and you were the guide on the side, helping them along, opening their eyes, changing their vision, their perspective, reorganizing their company, whatever they did. What would you say is a great testimonial or story of a client that you helped?
Sure. I have a couple ones that come to mind right now. And if I'll share one if you want the other, I can as well. There's an architectural firm in Manhattan, and they work on some of the biggest buildings you've ever seen in the world. They've done the Javits Center, they've done One World Trade. Right now, they're working on 3 buildings on Billionaires Row. They do impressive work. If you looked at them from outside, you'd be like, "Holy moly! I can't believe you get to do those things."
Wow.
Well, the gentleman who is running this, he started it on his own. He's been an architect for many, many, many years, and then he went out on his own. As he did this, he got some help, and then eventually the work built up, and he needed more help, and now he has 9 employees, and he went from $60,000, a year to now, do $200,000-300,000 a month. And what happens is, he was in that position, and he was starting to get frustrated. Right? He's like, I don't understand why everything's not going the way I wanted. And the key thing that we helped him with is his identity. Okay.
Hmm.
We talk about this. Our whole methodology at Atomic Business Coaching is believe, behave, become. Right? You have to believe like what you're actually after. And that's where those W's that I mentioned before come into play. You have to believe that stuff. And it has to come from inside. It can't come from outside. He just didn't believe that he was the CEO of his company. he still believed that he was an architect drawing amazing buildings and giving consultants and everything else. And these other people were just there helping him to do the thing. And it's funny, he even would mention his employees to us as his coworkers. He truly didn't believe that he was the leader. And yes, there was some imposter syndrome and many sabotaging habits he had. He was a pleaser. That was like very high up on his saboteur assessment. We do that with every one of our clients. And he had this thing. And when we finally had him look at what is going on and what he's really doing, he started to believe that, oh, I am leading this thing. And that little micro shift allowed him to really drive his behaviors different. And that was the thing, is he started showing up like a leader, because the belief dictates our behaviors, right? So if we just believe I'm a coworker of these things and we're doing it together and rah, rah, we'll get it done, you're going to act like a coworker. But when you are a leader, you are now in the charge of these people, not in charge of them, in the charge of them. Meaning that you're going to go there and do these things, and they have to see like, wow, he's behaving like our leader, so we can feel confident to sit back here and do the work necessary so he can keep leading. And that was the biggest shift, is just watching him. I mean, we physically saw it in him, where he referred to himself, I won't use the name, but he used to refer to himself as his first name. And when he would show up to meetings with his team, he would refer to himself as Mr. M. I won't use the full last name, but Mr. M. And he's like, he wouldn't say that to them, but he would show up before this. All right, Mr. M needs to show up here. And he was like, okay. And it wasn't a stern, oh, I'm their boss. No, it was like, no, I have to lead these people right now. And all it meant was,
absolutely.
As he built this business, he had to have multiple identities. As you grow a business, you can't just move from like, oh, I was a practitioner to I'm an owner. You can have parts of yourself that are the owner and parts of yourself that are a leader and parts of yourself that are practitioner. And you have to know, how am I showing up in this moment at this time? And when he finally allowed himself to say, oh, I can show up differently here, he changed his whole career. He changed the work that came to him. He changed the employees that wanted to work for him.
So let's say anybody that's looking to start a business, become an entrepreneur, that change in mindset from being the practitioner to being the CEO. And a lot of people, I'll tell you that probably the term CEO, I think it's extremely overused. People are the CEO of solopreneur, one-person companies. But anyway, I digress. To be the CEO, to have that CEO mindset, hey, I am the leader here, and a team of people relies on me and my leadership for reaching this vision, for accomplishing the mission, even for them getting paid, for them leading their own lives, accomplishing their own vision and mission for their own lives, right? So a lot of times, I'll just say with some of the clients that I work with, if I'm working with a team of leaders at a company, getting those leaders to see their role as a leader and that their people are relying on them for leadership, right? A lot of times people are like, well, I just, I help out, I train people, I do whatever, I oversee a department kind of thing. They're not necessarily seeing themselves like, hey, this person is going to feed their family based upon my leadership. If I lead well, they win. And if they win, they bring money home to their family. They can meet their needs. They can, pay for their rent and their food and stuff like that. And if I don't lead well, there is no money. They can't do their job. They don't go home with the paycheck. They go home, with a pink slip at some point in time, telling their family members that it didn't work again. Right. So really elevating that mindset. Is there a strategy that you would use that you could recommend to a business owner who feels like, hey, you know what, I believe I'm the CEO, but I think I'm the CEO, but I really want to own my role as a CEO? Like, do they look themselves in the mirror every day? They write it, somewhere? Do they tattoo CEO across their forearm or something? How do they get there?
Yeah, I'll come back and address the CEO thing if we have time later on. But because yes, it is an overused term, but there's a way to use it that's very appropriate, whether you're a CEO of one or a CEO of 10,000. So to answer your question, the thing is that's too much of a burden to put on your shoulders as a leader. Like I am like all these people's payrolls, their kids, everything, that all that pressure's on me. You most likely will fail at that because it's too much for you to manage. Okay. Any business is too much for any one person to manage. So the way that we looked at this is, as I said before, who is my business now and who do I want it to be? If you hear that, if you really listen to that, I didn't say what is my business. I said who. I use that word very seriously. You have to treat your business as a who. And parents will get this philosophy very, very simple. And this is what you can do about it. When you look at your business as a who, as a thing that you are in the charge of, that you have to care for, that you are the guardian for, that you are giving all the resources it needs to grow up big and strong one day and survive on its own, just like we do for our children,
Right.
you will treat it differently. And all those other employees that are there are just the tribe. Okay. It takes a village to raise somebody. It takes a village to raise a business too. And they are in the charge of the business. You all collectively are doing it. Yes, you may be the leader, but you really have very little to do with its success. The employees do. And they have to know, who is this business and who are we trying to create it into? And what resources do we have to bring to it so it can be big and strong and survive on its own and go out into the world and make a bigger impact on its own than we did collectively for it. And that's the thing. It's not about the individuals in the business. It's about the enterprise, the organization, this thing that you are together building that will change the world. And you have to look at it as a who, and it takes time. Your kid doesn't all of a sudden come out of the womb and go to college. It doesn't get the job and have the house and have the husband or the wife. You have to give it all the things necessary. So not only it goes to college, but it goes to the right college for the right reasons. Not only so it gets the job, so it gets the job that actually can sustain them and allow them to live a life. Not so it just gets married, so it gets married to the right person. And that's the difference. When you look at it as a human being that you are raising, everybody will treat it differently.
That's awesome. Whole mindset shift. Tell us about CEO. Go ahead. If you're the CEO of one or the CEO of 1,000, what does CEO mean to you? I know that's a thing for you.
Yeah. Like, so there's two different sides of this equation. So the traditional CEO, chief executive officer, even if you're your own solopreneur business, okay, you have to look at it as, I am the chief executive officer of the thing that I am doing. I may have 7 other roles that have my name on the org chart, but in this moment, when I'm planning my business, when I'm setting the direction, when we're going to figure out big budgetary expenditures, whether that big budgetary expenditure is $1,000 for you or 10 million for you, you have to be an executive function. You have to think of the things in big picture, in quarters, years, and decades. You can't think in moment and reactionary. So it's not about the freaking title. The title is meaningless, and I would agree it's very overused. The reason it's overused is because many of the people who state they're the CEO don't act like it. They just want they want the rewards from having the title, but they don't want to do the work necessary to actually say, wow, you're the chief executive of your organization.
Right.
Now, on the other side, excuse me, Tom and I have redefined what CEO means. CEO to us means commitment, effort, obsession.
Say that again.
That's what we say it means. Commitment, effort, obsession.
Commitment, effort, obsession.
Obsession.
It's awesome.
We even have a whole
effort, obsession.
It's really
a line of clothing.
We do. We have a whole line of clothing about it called CEO Threads, CEOthreads.com. Shameless plug.
It's okay. Plug away.
This is a movement, right? You have to, if you're going to run your business, if you're going to run your family, if you're going to be the president of the PTA organization, you damn well better be obsessed about it.
Right.
If you're not obsessed, you're just interested. And I said before I was going to talk about interested in commitment. Here's the difference here. When you're just interested in doing something, you'll do it when it's convenient. You'll do it when it's fun. But the moment it gets hard and difficult, you're done. When you are committed, you do it no matter what.
Right.
And that's what being obsessed really is. I'm committed to this thing. But obsession goes deeper. Obsession is you wake up in the morning and you will literally push everything else out of the way to get to it. And if you're not obsessed about what you're doing, you better find somebody else who is. Because that's the only way it's going to progress forward. You'll just hit the status quo plateau and maintain and be miserable about it. So when you're obsessed with something, it's not that difficult to be committed to it.
Right.
Okay? It's really not. It's like, I'm already committed to this. And then when you're committed to something that you're obsessed about, do you have to drag yourself through to give the effort? No, you can't wait to do it.
Right.
And you run out of day before you run out of energy. And yeah, I go to bed tired every night. You know, I hit the pillow and I go to sleep.
Right.
I'm exhausted for good reason, not because I'm stressed, because I really gave it all. And that's what CEO needs to be: commitment, effort, obsession. And if you could just simply grab onto that commitment, effort, obsession. Can I really give commitment, effort, and obsession to this thing, whether it's a task, the next decade of what you're building, you know, the dinner you're going to make for your family? it's such a simple philosophy that allows you to really say, yeah, I'm all in here. I'm not in the way.
Now let's talk about more about that obsession versus passion. I usually say ownership, but I think I like obsession even better. And honestly, anybody who's successful in anything, there's a level of obsession. There, if you're not obsessed, you're not gonna, you know, Tiger Woods hitting 1,000 golf balls a day. Like you're not gonna hit 1,000 golf balls if you're not obsessed with it. So, to the degree of ownership, I would say that ownership is when you like when we're parents of kids. Going back to your analogy with parenting in the business, when I found out that my wife, now my ex-wife, was pregnant with our first child, I remember the shock of that being like, wow, I need to transform myself into a better version of myself because I am the dad of a child. I need to step up my entire existence to fulfill that role. I need to transform. I can't just own it. I need to be next level. 100% of who I am now doesn't fit. It's not good enough for me parenting this child. I need to increase my capacity to become a new version, a recreated version of myself, better, stronger, whatever, to own my role as a dad. And I think as we have that obsession, as we have that ownership, that passion towards, I would say, our why, our purpose, our higher, like why we're here on this earth to make a difference. That's really where that ownership and that obsession comes in. What are kind of things, like I actually have a client right now who one of the employees says, Joe, listen, I do it, but I'm really not, I want to care more. I want to be more passionate about it. I'll go through the steps, but the passion isn't really there. How does that person, he's not the owner, it's one of the employees. This is a 300 employee company. And he's just one of the employees there. And he wants to be, he wants the next level of his performance. He's not really owning it though. He's certainly not obsessed about it. He wants more results than he wants relationship. What would you say for something like that? How does somebody develop that sense of passion, ownership, extreme type of obsession about their role, their purpose, their leadership, their company, their mission?
Yeah. So if we're talking about employees and people who work for us and how do we develop that, is that what you're asking? Because there's a different different way I'd take that versus ourselves.
Let's say an employee, somebody
Yeah.
who wants to develop that, not the CEO, not the owner.
Okay. Yeah.
We can handle that next question, but this question's, employee wants to be more passionate about the job.
Yeah. The thing is you don't create passion. You're passionate or you're not. Okay. Now, sometimes you'll do something that you become really good at and you become passionate about. That's why people always say, find something you love to do and you never work a day in your life. Well, it's hard to do that unless you did something, and then you figure out, wow, I really love doing this. And that's what most people who say, find something, you love. It's because they did so much work and they ended up loving the thing that they were doing. Sometimes they hated it in the beginning and they became really competent at it because competence breeds a lot of love and passion for things. I'm really good at this thing and I found out what I can do with this. But every single person has something that they are passionate about. And with employees or anybody that works for us in any way, shape, or form, even if it's a vendor, there are things that they are passionate about that you can then find a through line to the work that they do to achieve that passion. They may be passionate about showing up to their kids' basketball games. Like, I'm just passionate about being, the AAU coach and my son doing this thing. And you can build their whole purpose inside of the business so they could do more of that. And it could be performance driven. Like, hey, man, if we can get you to do these, I can carve out extra hours, or I could do this. Or you may be a super disciplined owner and say, no, 9 to 5, you punch the clock. That's what I need. And I need available 7 to 9 on emails. Great. Well, you can build it so they have a driving effort to go towards getting what they really want out of this thing, because they don't want your business to grow. They want their job. They want the paycheck. They want promotions, bonuses, pay increases, and some kind of stability. But if you can show them through this, you can help me create that and get what you want. That is a game changer. And I learned this from one of my mentors, Frank Scalisi, is he always sat with people and like, I know you're here to do this thing and make this money, but what do you want out of your life? What do you want out of these things? And how can I help you get that through this machine that I've built?
Right.
And it empowers them to participate in their own success using the vehicle of your company's success to do it.
That's awesome. So, when I'm working with clients, I would say that one of the things that I ask leaders to do is to get to know their employees, get to know the members of their team, right? Know their why. And this is really, I think, in alignment with what you're saying. If I know that this is the person's mission that they're on, and if I could say, hey, listen, for a period of time, your mission and my mission are in alignment. Let's ride this together. I'm going to help you accomplish your mission. You're going to help us accomplish our mission, because for a period of time, they're in alignment. They're in parallel, right? At some point in time, you might, veer off, and you're going to continue on your mission. I continue on my mission, and that's fine. We're going to part ways then as friends. That's no problem. We might come back together, and who knows? But for this period of time, we're in alignment, and that goes to like what you're saying. Your passion might be going to your kid's soccer game, or going to your kid's basketball game, or or art, or history, or some other thing, saving pets in a foreign country, which people do. So this job right now is a vehicle for you to do that other passion. And so while we're here, we're going to be in alignment, so that I'm going to give you that freedom, flexibility, finances, whatever, to run this other passion thing in your life. And for this period of time, we're in alignment. And that kind of, that why builds identity and builds ownership, I think, of the employee to the company, and making them to see, okay, wow, this is not just a job. This is part of me accomplishing my life mission.
Well, and it allows a leader to do what they're actually supposed to do. And this is the mistake most owners of companies make, is they think their employees work for them, but you work for your employees.
That's a great point.
Your entire job is to give them everything that they need to be successful. And if you're not giving them that, if you don't know their purpose, their passion, maybe they just want to make a ton of money so they can buy a Lamborghini, and you may not value that as well, but they do. And it's your job to give them everything they can to get that Lamborghini, even if you don't agree with it. Now, as I said, they can use this company that you built as the vehicle for that, and you'll both win. Right. But you have to give them those resources. And if they need to make $1 million this year, and you're only giving the capability to make $20,000, then guess what? It's not going to be successful. Right. So you better find another route for this person. Otherwise, you're wasting everyone's time. And that's why you really have to find out, like, what's driving them. Like, why, and we're calling it passion, but what drives you to show up here every day? Because I know you really don't want to be here, and we all get that. But what drives you to be here? And that's the thing. Your job is give them all the resources. Just like I said before, when we understand who we want this business to be, our job is to give it resources. And I use this different thing here. It's growth and scale. Everybody confuses these terms, and you can only do one at a time. You can't do them simultaneously. The way I define growth is when you're growing your company, all you're doing is adding additional resources to increase the top line revenue. When you're scaling your company, you're using the existing resources you already acquired to increase top line revenue. And what happens is when somebody is coming to you and you're not getting the performance out of them, it's not, I'm going to scale them. They don't have the resources to scale. You got to grow them. And that means adding resources. That may be training, that may be mentorship, that may be some sort of mental health resource, that may be, showing up a half an hour late because they're stressed, they got to drop their kid off. It may be tell them this is not the place for you, and you'd be better served working in some other place, and I'll help you get there over the next 30 days. But it's really, that is your job. It's giving them the resources so the company, yes, can be successful, but they can as well.
That's awesome. That's great. If you could, let's just say that, the American Business Podcast has about 150,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel. So some subset of those are going to be watching this episode. If you're talking to business owners worldwide, what message would you really like to get across to them? And this is going to be, this podcast is, I think we're in over 50 countries right now. So if you were to talk to business owners, business leaders, or just the general population that tunes in, what's the message that you would like to take them and help them to see, like, I'm going to elevate, I'm going to take a step up. I'm going to start this right now. I'm going to think a little differently, do a little differently. What's that message?
You might have heard me say this before, but business is simple. It's just not easy. And this is a philosophy that has helped me, and I have helped thousands of people change their lives. I literally have everything I have for my family, my life, the work I get to do every single day because of that philosophy. Business is simple. It's just not easy. What we have to realize as business owners is that It's never, ever, ever going to be easy. Everything we do is going to be hard. I don't care how competent you are, how long you've done it, how much money you put at it, it's going to be hard. And that is the commitment that we've made. I'm willing to do the hard. Nobody else says, I'm going to do it. That's why you're not an employee. That's why you've created a company. But if you complicate it, if you don't make it simple, if you make it simple, it's executable. If you make it complicated, it becomes impossible. What we have to do as business owners is make every work as simple as possible. And why? Because us humans, as smart as we think we are, we're not. We're not really that smart. And when we have to start connecting dots to do the hard work, we give up. We get frustrated. Right. We start to question ourselves. But when we make it very, very simple, there's nothing left to do but the work. There's no questions. There's no thoughts. There's nothing left to do. Now, you can have 1,000 things you're doing as long as they're all simple. But add that complexity in, and I'm telling you, within 18 months, you'll be out of business.
Wow. And about more than 50% of businesses are going to go out of business in 5 years from startup. So, we know that, and so overcomplicate. Go ahead.
And the thing is, because they're not willing to do the hard work, so they make things complicated, thinking they're shortcuts, and then it goes out of business. That's all it is, Joe. It's thinking there's a shortcut. Just go into this knowing it's all hard.
It's going to be hard.
Simplified. That's it. Right. The shortcuts don't ever work. Look, 25 plus years in business. Every time I've tried a shortcut, it didn't work out. And I failed more than I've succeeded.
Yeah.
That's part of the process. Like, learning is just iterating on past failures. That's all it really is. Right. So it's like, okay, I've had to learn a lot, and yeah, but that's what it takes. It's hard. It's hard to get back up, dust yourself off, and be like, I'm going to try it again. And every time I've simplified it, I was able to continue it consistently.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's, you're hitting the nail right on the head, obviously, because you've been doing this for multiple decades. So listen, I think every business owner, and I am partial to this, and I know that you're probably partial to this too. Every single business owner needs a coach. Outside eyes, outside perspective, outside mindset, people who study and value every good leadership principle, every good leadership mindset, every tool that we can have at our disposal. That's our job as coaches to learn that and figure out how to apply it and help business owners to apply it. Tell us more about Atomic Business Coaching and how people can get in touch with you and what kind of services you might offer. Why would they hire you as their coach, and how do they reach you if they want to hire you as a coach?
Sure. Well, I appreciate that, man. Be the www.betheceo. Here you go. That's how you can
there you go.
Get in touch with us. Or Atomic Business Coaching. Yeah. Adam Thomas Hurd on LinkedIn. I'm on every platform, as you mentioned before, but that's the only one you'll get me. Every place else, it's somebody else like doing work behind the scenes. So if you really want to talk to me directly, send me a DM there. Nobody but me responds. So if it takes me a while, give me a chance. But
I will verify. I reached out to you and you answered back.
It's me. Yeah, but you're high on my list. You're starred on my LinkedIn. So I follow up with you, pal. See, you're important. So, yeah, I mean, look, who do we help? It's as I said before, it's these people that there's this thing living inside of them that they know there's more. They just don't understand why. They don't understand what they've had success, but they know there's more in them. It's easier for me to tell you who I don't work with. I don't work with startup companies. There are people that are more qualified to help you with that, and I don't honestly have the patience for that anymore. Not that it's beneath me or anything else. It's just like it doesn't challenge me any longer. It's because there's plenty of blueprints out there in the world.
Not your sweet spot.
What'd you say?
It's not your sweet spot. Working with a startup. I have this idea. I want to start this business. I just incorporated. Can you help me out? No.
Yeah, it's just like. I mean, you could use ChatGPT, just follow everybody else's playbook. And then when you run into the actual obstacles, that's where I can come in, right? I also no longer work with really high level executive. I've helped people exit for nine figures plus. I've helped some unbelievable people, but that's not the passion I get out of it either. It's this middle ground when you are transitioning, when you are really trying to become the CEO of your business. That's that person. If you're already the CEO, I mean, I serve on plenty of boards, and you can hire me if you want as to be on your advisory board. It's not cheap, but you can hire me for that. But my core competency, the thing that I absolutely love doing, is helping people really recognize that they already have everything they need. They just need to shift their beliefs, their behaviors, and they will become this thing they've known deep down inside they're able to do. They're like, how, why, what? And it's really not about the how. They already know all the hows. They just don't trust it. They don't activate it. And they have a lot of fears and mindset issues. And yeah, there's tactical things too, but that's truly what I love, who I love to work with. So if you've had some success and there's just this yearning thing of, I know there's more for me, and leadership is one of them, and being a CEO of your life and your business, that's why Joe and I do what we do. I know you do it in a little bit different fashion, but it's really to change your life. That's the work that we get to do every single day, and I'm very honored to do that. So all my clients out there, thank you very much for trusting in us to do this.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And last question: what should we be reading right now? What are you reading or what's your favorite book that the rest of us should be reading? If I could get everyone addicted to listening to audiobooks and personal self-development and growth and reading books and going to seminars and listening to this podcast and other podcasts, and that continuous self-development, that would be a great accomplishment for me in my life. So what's a book that you recommend, or what should I read, listen to? What should our audience read and listen to?
Yeah. So I'll be funny first. So you should first read The Atomic Game Changer. That's one of my books. I've authored multiple books, but The Atomic Game Changer, it's about the 9 principles that we all need to embrace to have success. I don't care, again, if you're the PTA mom, you want to be the CEO of your company, or you're going to do that startup, there's these 9 principles. And yes, we have an audiobook for that on Amazon. It's just Atomic Game Changer. Audiobook, Kindle for really, really cheap, hardcover. That is my lived experience. That is the work that I've actually done through my life. Tom's done through his, and some of the great people we've gotten to either work with, work for, or be a part of their lives. We've learned these are the 9 major things that they had to embrace and commit to and actually implement over and over and over again to have success in any area. So it's not a cover to cover read. It's my book.
I'm going to buy that book. I didn't know that you had a book. I would have read it before we started.
Yeah, I got a couple. I got another one. We're backwards on the thing here. I got another one in the morning meeting. I got another one over there. Yeah,
it should be. It shouldn't be mirrored. It should be good so the audience can read.
couple of books, but I have a lot of books over here, and these are 5 books. I don't know if anybody could see it, but these are 6 books actually that have really changed my life. Here, I'll pull them up. So here's a good reading library for people. Okay, so Good to Great. If you haven't read this already, this book is really about how to stop plateauing in your company. Atomic Habits has nothing to do with my company, but it's an unbelievable book to go through. Blue Ocean Strategy, it's how to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. Millionaire Next Door, that's just all about how to look at your money and everything else. Who, Not How, I talked about it before. It's who's going to do things for me, not how. And Essentialism, how do I minimize? How do I really minimize, and what is essential in our lives? And those are some of my favorite books. A book I'm reading right now, though, is Marcus Aurelius Meditations.
That's awesome.
It's about Stoicism, and it's great because it's these short little things that I can read, and it's allowing me to either find evidence in my behaviors, my philosophies, my beliefs, or it's challenging them and bringing me to a new place. So if you haven't read that, whether you're into Stoicism or not, there's some incredible multi-millennial long lessons inside of that they're too simple to argue with. And you're like, yeah, that's kind of obvious. And they've challenged me a lot. So I like reading books that give me new information. And that one is not only giving me new information, but validated a lot of the things that I am imparting wisdom to others, so to speak. So that's been a fun one. Meditations.
There's been maybe a reawakening to Stoicism. I've just sort of, gotten into reading it in the last few years. Ryan Holiday is kind of a modern day author on
Obstacles the Way. It's a good one.
Yeah, a lot of great books. Obstacles the Way is one of them. And I just wonder, like, if Stoicism was around, 2,000, 2,500 years ago, however many, over 2,000 years ago, what have we been doing with it all this time, right? So Stoicism, the foundation of it, in my perspective, the useful part that I get out of it is the ability to maintain my internal emotional stability, regardless of what's happening around me, regardless of what people say, what people do. And one of the things I like to say is you can do it happy or you can do it upset. You still got to do it. So
I love
you
it,
might as well
Joe.
do it happy, right? So, and I had a client one time. She goes, oh my gosh, I have to get a root canal today. I'm going to go get my root canal happy. And I'm like, exactly. Being
Right.
upset doesn't make the root canal better. It actually just makes it worse. So you got to do it anyway. You can do it happy or you can do it frustrated. A client texted me the other day and he goes, Joe, this, and I can just tell by the way he texted, he's upset about something. I said, you can do it happy or you can do it upset. You still got to do it. He goes, you know what? You're right. Thank you. He goes, I was upset because I had to redo some paperwork and it was getting me frustrated. But getting frustrated over having to redo the paperwork doesn't make me not have to do the paperwork. So I might as well just be happy about it.
Yeah, and that is a lot of that is a lot of stoicism. It's about this discipline, right? It's about the commitment. It's about, before what I was saying, being interested or being committed. When you're committed, you do it regardless how it feels. If it's convenient, if you like it, you're doing it anyway. That's the difference. And you said there's been this revitalization in stoicism recently, and I read an amazing quote. I'm sure many people have heard this before. I have to read it because I pulled it up on my phone. This is my thoughts and lessons. But this is why I believe stoicism has had this revitalization. The quote goes like this: hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Right. That's true.
We've just had it really easy for the past 2 decades. It's been really easy. And people are starting to understand that, wow, I'm a weak man or a woman. And if I just got discipline, I can make really good times for myself. Yeah. And they're starting to realize we are in the luckiest time ever in the history of this universe to be alive. We are in full control. Like, you can literally do anything you want. And technology has allowed us to do that even simpler. Yeah. And if you don't buckle down and have some discipline, you're going to be a miserable person. You got to do the hard work. And the rewards are incredible on the other side of that. But yeah, it all takes a little bit of work. And that's, I believe, why stoicism has come back up, because people are seeing the results of discipline.
Awesome. Well, great. So to our listening audience, we got to wrap it up for today. But Adam, I super appreciate you being here. I hope that we can get you back on again one of these days as well. And more to come. For the rest of the listening audience, we're here with the International Leadership Podcast, bringing you useful strategies that you can apply to your own lives, your businesses, nonprofit organizations, or whatever it is. I am Joe Beauchamp, your host from Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. You can find us at beauchampteam.com, helping you grow your leadership, better leaders, get better results. Thank you so much. See you next time.